What's up everyone, welcome back to another video. FPL Harry here, and today we are having a look at my final draft for Game Week 17. So today is Game Week 17 final draft time. It is the fourth video in my FPL Harry video content advent calendar that we've got. You can see the videos we have gone so far. We will have videos on Friday and Saturday, and then again on Boxing Day on the Game Week 17 deadline as well. One of the main reasons we are doing this, of course, is we are raising money for charity during the month of December. 50% of all the ad revenue that I get from YouTube, and then 100% of everything else, memberships, super chats, YouTube thanks, all of that goes to a charity called Action for Children during the month of December. So even just getting here, even just clicking like and subscribe if you do not want to donate is a massive thing to support a great cause this winter. So diving into this Game Week 17 updated draft. Okay, it's not locked in, but it's my final draft in terms of I'm not tinkering with the structure. I'm pretty certain that a maximum of one player is going to change between now and the Game Week 17 deadline. Maybe two, but I think that's very, very unlikely. We're going to start in goal, and it's still the same two. At time of recording, we don't actually know if Kepa started in goal for Chelsea in their friendly against Brentford on Tuesday evening. I think he did because we saw him in training about a week before, so I can't see any reason why he didn't. But I will keep an eye on the Chelsea press conferences from Graham Potter going into Game Week 17 to make sure that he's fit and available. A lot of you are wondering whether you should go with Kepa or upgrade that money and spend it on the likes of Pope, Edison, or even Ramsdale. The issue with doing that is then you're stuck benching Danny Ward every week, whereas if you have a 4.5 million goalkeeper, you don't mind benching him in the sake of Danny Ward. Whereas if you'll have Pope, for example, and Danny Ward, you'll then be stuck starting Pope, and we'll be back to where we were at points during the first half of the season where we're stuck with Ward on our bench just because he's cheap. That is the second goalkeeper that I'm sure all of us are going to go with. I don't really think we should be having more than a 4.5 second goalkeeper because of that sort of nature that we will want to start him every single week. I think Ward and I think Kepa is the best duo if Kepa is fit for Game Week 17. Moving into defence, this is the second time of me recording this video. I recorded it all and then I realised that half of my head was cut out from the way my camera was set up. Anyway, moving into defence, let's hope this take is better and I don't have to do it for a third time. Defence doesn't change very much. Cancelo is in there. A lot of people looking at Diaz, Akanji, Ake, Walker as cheaper alternatives, but I just think Cancelo is the only one that basically has to play every single week. It might change a little bit now that Kyle Walker is back fit and could play, and then they could play Ake on the other side. I do think generally Cancelo is the most nailed of all those Manchester City defenders, and I have the money to spare. I have a good team value, so I'm quite happy to go and spend it on Cancelo, who I think is the most nailed option that we've got. Next to him is Trippier. Again, he's up at 5.9. All the prices that we have in this video are prices they are now, not necessarily the prices that I all bought them for. I bought Trippier actually at 5 million, and one of the big things I did in Game Week 1 was start with him. Again, Newcastle defensively are great. Their opening fixtures are not that amazing, but he's a season keeper for me. Clean sheets, attacking returns, you've got it all for Trippier. If you're considering going without him, he's probably the number one defender I'd go with, even over Cancelo, again, given the price thing that I've got for Trippier. Next to him is Reece James. So Reece James did play in the Chelsea friendly against Brentford. He played 60 minutes in about 130 minutes of football that was played during that game. Again, there is a slight risk that Fofana looks like he's going to be out for about a month. He picked up a bit more of a knock, which does mean there is a small chance that Reece James plays at centre-back, and we all know what FPL is like when you have to watch your asset and Reece James play at centre-back. I don't think it's going to happen, but it is worth just mentioning that that could possibly happen if there's a lot of games that Reece James needs to play. Ben White is next. I think in my previous draft I had Diego Dallo. Diego Dallo looks like he's not back in Manchester United training yet and has picked up a slight knock. There is also going to be no Martinez and no Varane as well. So it is worth bearing in mind with the likes of the Argentina players in particular, but also the French players going late into the World Cup, that they're unlikely to feature in Game Week 17. And the Argentinians are also unlikely to feature in Game Week 18 as well. So I think the Manchester United defence isn't going to look that great for the first couple of game weeks, particularly because Martinez is not going to be there. And if that's the case, I only really want Dallo for the first three or Luke Shaw for the first three. I've just gone and got Ben White. I don't plan on playing him for many of the first few weeks, but I then have him for when he doubles in Game Week 23, and he might even double before that as well, depending on what happens in the cup games and everything like that. And generally, Arsenal are one of the best defences in the league. I do just want a piece of it. I could upgrade it and go for the likes of Gabriel, but Ben White is the cheap option, and I do think he's pretty nailed. Tomiyasu could start every so often, but I think Tomiyasu is going to be saved more for the cup. Ben White is just such a top defender. And then Patterson, I have decided not to go with the back five and just go for the 4, and then the cheap option in Patterson. 4 million for him is great. Bueno at 3.9 also started for Wolves in their cup match. basically can toss a coin between all of them. There is a small chance that Everton get a double in game week 21, which Wolves won't, which is partly why I've just gone with Patterson in here over having Bueno. There's not much to choose between them. You could also go up to Luke Thomas, who started for Leicester at 4.2. My only concern is Leicester are likely to invest in some defenders in the January transfer window, given the likes of Pereira and Justin are out for quite a considerable amount of time. So if that's going to be the case, Luke Thomas isn't that nailed for very many weeks, and their opening fixtures are not that great. So I've just decided to save the money and go with Patterson, given I also have Ward in goal. Moving into midfield, we are going to try and hit 1,000 likes on the video. So if you haven't already, smash that like button, and we are less than 200 subscribers away from hitting 40,000 as well. So go and subscribe as well. But in midfield, I think it's the same. We've got Salah in here. Again, I just want a piece of him with no Jota, with no Diaz. That rotation is going to be pretty minimal. Salah and Darwin are going to have to play pretty much every single game for Liverpool between now and when those guys return. So he's in there, and he's a great captaincy option in game week 19 if I do decide to move off Erling Haaland. Martinelli is next. You could go with Odegaard, you could go with Saka, you could go with Nketiah up front. I don't think their opening fixture is that great, but I still want a piece of the Arsenal pie. Again, given their doubles they have in 23, given from 21 onwards they have a nice run of fixtures, I don't want to have to be stressing about how I'm going to fit one of these Arsenal attackers into my team. So I'm just going to start with Martinelli. Of course, I have a lot of value tied up in him. He could occasionally play up front, depending on how many minutes Nketiah is capable of playing. Smith Rowe could play out on the left with Martinelli up front. Generally, he's on a lot of set pieces as well. So I do want him. I know some people are going to go without Arsenal, but I don't think that's a good idea. They are top of the table for the reason. They have looked good in their sort of pre-season games so far. So pretty happy with him. Next to him, we've got Marcus Rashford. I do want a piece of that Manchester United team, even if it's not Dalot. They play Nottingham Forest, Wolves and Bournemouth in their first three. It's about as good as it gets in terms of fixtures. You could also go and get Bruno Fernandes. If I had the money, more money in the bank, I don't quite have enough. I would do Rashford all the way up to Bruno Fernandes. I don't have enough, and I think Rashford is the second best pick. Anthony as well, Martial as well up front are both good picks as well, but I do just think Rashford edges it. His form that he showed before the World Cup and then the form he showed in the World Cup, I feel like he's got that motivation back, which he's spoken about is a big thing for him in terms of the amount of goals he's going to score and how well he's going to play on the pitch as well. And then we've got Miguel Almiron. Now, I did have Mason Mount in here, but it looks like he's picked up a slight knock. He's not necessarily going to be back for game week 17, and then 17, 18, 19 comes so quickly, he could easily miss more than one of those. So I would probably err on the side of caution. Mount was in my last draft. I've gone with Almiron here. Two really nice fixtures in their first two, Leicester and Leeds. Leicester, I can never decide as if it's a good fixture, but I think Newcastle have looked great going forward. Almiron did actually miss an open goal in their cup match on Tuesday night. Let's hope it's not a return to the Miguel Almiron that we knew before this season, and he can continue on that high run of form, and he's just cashing in that overachiever of XG that he had. He's going to be back to what he was before. But one of the great things about Almiron is game week 19. I like Almiron around it, but game week 19 he goes away to Arsenal. But that is the week that Andreas Pereira and Fulham have a double game week, so it is perfect to have Almiron, not worry about game week 19. I'll just stick him on my bench and start Pereira in his double game week. Now, Pereira's double against Leicester and Chelsea is not fantastic, but Pereira is a great asset, and I bench him too much anyway. So if I was going to have him and bench him in game week 19, I think I'd really be causing myself problems. So pretty happy with the combination that we've got here. Andreas is by far the best cheap midfielder we can be buying into our teams as well at the moment. And then up front, Haaland, Darwin, Mitrovic, I'm 99% certain now. Last video was 95, it's gone up to 99% certain that this is going to be my front line, unless we get an injury news or something like that one of them's not fully fit, but I don't see that happening. Haaland, of course. Darwin, I think, is great, whilst there is no Luis Diaz and Jota as well, like I spoke about with Mo Salah. The final one is Mitrovic. Mitrovic is the only one that has the potential to change, and he could go to Anthony Martial, just because Mitrovic is on 4 yellow cards. If he picks up a yellow card in game week 17, he misses game week 18, which would be okay, but if he picks up a yellow card in game week 18 or the first game in game week 19, it means in theory he won't have a double game week, and that'll be really annoying. And I can just see Mitrovic being the type of player, he loves a yellow card, and I think it is possible. Martial, with his first three of Nottingham Forest, Wolves and Bournemouth, could easily match Mitrovic, even if he doesn't pick a yellow card with that extra game, given how hard that double game week is. So I am having a look potentially at Martial and how Manchester United look in their cup game as well. I do have 2.6 million, and there are plenty of you. Maybe you've already clicked off saying, Harry, your team is basically the template. This is so boring. Find someone exciting to put in your team. And that's basically the change I'm going to make with my team. I want 2.6 million in the bank. And basically what I want to do is make a transfer which puts my team a step ahead of the template. There are 3 positions that I might do this in. Of course, Mitrovic I could sell. I could upgrade him to the likes of Callum Wilson, or I could go to Anthony Martial. Almiron I could upgrade easily, and I think that's the most likely thing for me to do, although benching him in game week 19 makes a lot of sense. Saka, Kulusevski, Foden, it was Mount as well, but those other 3 are still really nice options. I could go with Foden and just get triple Manchester City from now, but then if KDB looks great, then I don't really have an easy route to be going and getting him in if I do have Foden. And the final place, I could just upgrade Patterson to the likes of Luke Shaw and invest in that Manchester United defence, again, probably because it's the best defence that I don't have a piece of at the moment. So this is the sort of draft template that we have at the moment. I think I might make one change at a max with the money I've got in the bank to upgrade one of those 3 players in Mitrovic, Almiron or Patterson in my defence. Again, it's probably a 3-4-3 most weeks. It could be a back 4 occasionally depending on if they have good fixtures and I wanted to bench Almiron or Andreas. It sets up well for the upcoming double. So Mitrovic, Andreas, James and Kepa have the double. I then of course have double Manchester City as well. There's no Spurs for the double in game week 20, but it is a really tricky double for them against Manchester City and Arsenal. Practically the hardest double they could possibly have. So if I don't have them and I have triple Manchester City for that week, then that's okay. And I have a lot of easy routes to add a third Manchester City asset as well. So I'm really happy with how this set up. I don't hate going into game week 17 with a lot of money in the bank. It will allow me to be very flexible early on to jump on players who are maybe hot on form that other assets and other FPL managers won't be able to go and do so. So let me know what you think about my team. Where would you put that 2.6 million? Any questions about your FPL draft as well? Drop it all in the comment section down below. I will answer it all ahead of game week 17. As I said earlier, this is part of my 8 days of FPL Harry content advent calendar, whatever you want to call it, between Monday and the start of game week 17. We've had my first draft, we've had differentials, we've rated your teams, and now we have this one. We have 2 more videos to come as well. If you haven't checked out those previous videos, links in the description, links to my page, they're all there. Go and check them out. Let me know what you think of my team. Any questions you have, drop it all in the comment section down below. Thank you all so much for watching. Like and subscribe before you go, and I'll be back again tomorrow.